from Studio 67 in Florida's capital county, it's time to get fact-checked.
Access granted.
What's up, good people of Florida? You got Jared, Amir, and Courtney back with another week of Fact Check. It was a big week in the legislature. We will get to all that in just a moment. Some of the fun stuff we had going on. We had Keys Day, Florida Keys Day. Had some good calm fritters, as well as my favorite beer that I can never find in town here. So it's always exciting when, Isla Morada Brewing Company comes to town. We also had Rural County Days.
Yep.
What did you guys think about that?
Nothing like that canned possum
that
me and Jared had to
I was here
try.
for the strawberry shortcake.
Shout out Washington County for the canned possum. Shout out Bradford County for the strawberry shortcake. Very, very fresh tasting. I picked up a nice cigar from Gadsden. We wish we could have seen our good buddy Commissioner Kimblin Neesmith there, but I'm sure he's got bigger and better things going on. So it was a fun week. And we actually had a FAC staffer make his debut at the podium. So we will get to all that and more in just a minute. But we will kick things off with one that you guys are probably getting sick of at this point. It is the County Commissioner Term Limits Bill. And, if you're sick of it, don't look at us. Look at the people that are responsible for pushing this one through. Courtney, why don't you catch us up on what's going on there?
So Rep. Salzman presented her bill in ethics elections, House Bill 57. This version does have the 12 consecutive years from 8. Bob presented on this with a handful of other county commissioners just to express their concerns that this is really a local option. Any county can become a charter county by referendum, and then they can vote if they want term limits. We shouldn't be doing this in Tallahassee.
They are taking the voters entirely out of the process here, and obviously that's something that we are looking to avoid as much as possible. Courtney, you got to make the rounds of the Capitol bit a little bit this week.
I did, Jared.
How'd your lobbying debut go?
My lobbying debut was pretty good. Met with a handful of representatives and definitely some House staff, which is also equally as important. Yeah. And Jared and I did get to do a few together, so we were definitely tag teaming.
Yeah, we were building off each other, just riffing out there. It was great. But yeah, again, the point we are trying to drive home on this one is that there are local mechanisms in place for this. As we mentioned, the charter process, and sending it to referendum, as well as just elections work. I mean, we have a handful of our commissioners that testified that they earned their seat by unseating an incumbent, and so if someone is not doing their job appropriately,
they'll get turned
out. The voters
out.
have proved time and time again that they will get voted out.
I mean, look at our president, Bill Truex.
Bill Truex
beating
himself
incumbent.
did. Yep, exactly. With that being said, we will move on to the next issue, which is the PACE program bill. The Senate had that bill up this week. That is Senate Bill 770 by Senator Martin. Just to recap, this issue is something that is actually the subject of ongoing litigation on whether a PACE administrator, a private company PACE administrator, can circumvent the interlocal agreements and kind of go over the heads of the counties and operate at a state level without any real degree of oversight. Kind of how we read the text of the statute as it stands is that, a PACE administrator has to receive a county or municipality's blessing, so to speak, in order to operate within the boundaries of that local government. We're looking for some clarification on this language, and the Senate has that. It says that a PACE administrator has to receive that blessing by ordinance or resolution of the county or the municipality. And so we're pleased with where that one's at. The House bill is up next week. That's House Bill 927 by Representative Trabolsi. That has a similar fix. The language is a little bit different, but the end result is all the same. And beyond that stuff, the bill also does expand the program a little bit to include wastewater and flood prevention measures. Those will now become eligible uses of PACE financing funds. We'll be on that one again next week, and we'll keep you guys apprised there. With that being said, we will move on to Amir for his first issue of the day. Amir, what is going on with that homestead exemption?
And this is a slew of bills that we've been constantly bringing up week through week. This week we got to see both House Bill 7017 and 7019 heard in the State Affairs Committee. Bob was present to testify against 7017. Mentioned again some of the same points he talked about in previous committees, talking about how the association can't support a tax shift. Again, this exemption.
And what's going on there exactly? What is 7017?
Yeah, no, to fill everyone in that hasn't heard about 7017, it's again just kind of making an annual adjustment to that homestead exemption to account for inflation. 7017 went on to be supported favorably. Do note, though, that this bill does have a fiscal impact, and it's estimated to be $22.8 million by fiscal year 25-26, growing to an approximately $111 million by fiscal year 28-29.
Thanks, Amir. This was part of a series of homestead exemption reform bills that came out of the Ways and Means Committee a couple weeks back, and this looks like kind of the pick of the litter as far as what they're moving forward with from that series. One of the ones that they have kind of abandoned at this point, or so we're hearing, would have also doubled that second homestead exemption from the assessed value of $25,000 to $50,000. That obviously would have had a pretty big price tag for counties as far as our ad valorem revenues, but they are moving forward with this CPI indexing one instead. Courtney, let's circle back to you. What is going on in the local preferences space? This is one that we have seen them chip away at for a couple years running now. What is the latest here?
Yeah, so this bill is moving in both the House and the Senate, and in terms of which side do we like better, the Senate bill currently has a little bit better language because it does map out that geographic preference portion. So what this bill really does is any public work projects includes construction project funded in part or whole by state appropriation funding. The bill revises this language to now add in that local or with the state funding.
Local or. Jeff Scala has.
Jeff has been
hammered that into our
brain. What this really does is even if it's local money funding the public work project, everything is falling to the requirements that are under a state public work project. This includes the wage rates, the benefits, the staffing levels, the recruiting and hiring. This will also get rid of those single source apprenticeships that a lot of our counties do have. And like we said, the House bill took out the geographical preference. The Senate bill still has that language in it, so hopefully we can at least keep that there.
Thank you, Courtney. Yeah, the compromise we've reached in past years is, as they defined it last year with as any degree of state funds, pour into a public works project, we are bound by those state rules. It made it sense conceptually, at least, that if we're using state dollars, we'll play by their rules. Now they're expanding it to you still have to play by our rules even if you're only using local dollars. And so this preemption is huge. As Courtney mentioned, the Senate is a little better in that it does still allow for us to practice geographic preferences, keep that money within our local economy.
No home rule authority there.
Could not agree more. Amir, we are going to kick it back over to you. What is going on with this millage bill?
Oh, yeah, no, for sure. So this was HB 1195, sponsored by Representative Garrison, and it was heard in the Ways and Means Committee this week. The bill requires a 2/3 vote of the governing body of a county, municipality, or independent special district in order to pass any millage rate increase, except where a higher voter threshold is already required under current law. That's what's happening.
And here's one of the trickier parts. It's actually an even higher threshold than you would think, as far as it being a 2/3 vote of the Board of County Commissioners, let's say. We have a handful of counties that have a 5-person board. A 3-2 vote is not going to get this one across the finish line. So in reality, they need 4 out of the 5 votes of the county commissioner to raise millage rates in this way.
Definitely something.
So it's almost like an 80% threshold for a lot of our counties.
Again, why there's reason for concern there. We're just going to continue monitoring this bill and seeing how it moves through its committee. This bill does have a Senate companion bill as well, which also passed favorably this week in the Community Affairs Committee.
Thanks, Amir. Yeah, just they are just kneecapping, our ability to raise revenue and provide these local services. So next up, we're going to talk cybersecurity incident liability. And I actually alluded to this one a little earlier. House Bill 473 by Representative Gia Lombardo is one that I went to the podium to support on behalf of FAC. What it does is it says that a county cannot be held liable for a cybersecurity or ransomware incident, assuming that the county has, quote-unquote, substantially complied with the statutory standards and the widely accepted best practices in the cybersecurity space. The bill does not create a cause of action, and it does clarify that failure to comply with the state guidelines does not in itself constitute negligence on the part of the county. So this is affording us a little bit of legal protection. We've kind of even ceded some of our home rule authority over the last few years as we've really leaned into the need for stronger standards and protections against these rogue actors by our body of counties, and so this is one that FAC felt very comfortable supporting. Going to kick it back over to Courtney now for another bill that we've seen a couple years running. We've obviously been trying to fill in the gaps of the occupational licensing space that started back in 2021, and we've been legislating on this issue for a couple years running now. Courtney, what does the latest bill relating to occupational licensing do exactly?
Yeah, so Senate Bill 1142 by Senator Hooper. This bill is trying to give the special contractors who are in good standing, who have been registered with their local jurisdiction during 2021, 2022, and 2023, to qualify for registration under the Construction Industry Licensing Board, which will basically allow them to continue to stay working in their local jurisdiction without having to come to the state to take a bigger exam. What this bill does not do is help anybody qualified in subsection Q of statute 489.105, which specifically speaks to those who are contractors whose scope of work and responsibility is limited to a particular phase of construction. So right now we don't have an answer for people who are employed under this category. They currently, from what we have right now, will have to go take a larger state exam to continue working at their local jurisdiction.
And obviously the state exam is presumably, let's say, higher standards,
yes,
a higher degree of expertise is required.
Right,
for this
and
examination.
they shouldn't have to now go back and take bigger exams for things that were already covered their whole careers.
Well said, Courtney. We're going to kick it back over to Amir. Amir, I hear the state is starting to weigh in on county emergency manager qualifications. What is that all about?
Yeah, no, so HB 1567 by Representative Grant essentially kind of implements new qualifications for county emergency directors. And the bill pretty much mandates that these county emergency managers need to have at least a bachelor's degree plus 6 years of verified experience in emergency management, along with 3 years of supervisory experience. But if they have a master's degree, that can substitute for 2 of their 6 years of needed emergency management experience. We're monitoring this bill. We did have our Putnam County delegation present for that committee meeting to weigh in from the fiscally constrained county's perspective. Now, the hardest thing that they see would be a problem moving forward is being able to pay these people the wages they require. But with this being said, the bill did pass favorably, 14-0, unanimous, and its next committee stop is going to be the House State Affairs. So we'll keep our eyes on this and see where it goes.
Appreciate that, Amir. I'm going to take the next one. The state is looking to provide some support to our rural health systems. We've seen a handful of rural hospitals close over the last few years. Obviously, they're serving a smaller population, and so they're dealing with lower service volume, lower reimbursement rates, that sort of thing. So the bill is creating a new and sorry, let me back up real quick. That's Senate Bill 644 by Senator Simon, the rural champion, as our rural counties like to call him. The bill, Senate Bill 644, is creating a new hospital license for what's called a rural emergency hospital. And the key here is that, number one, these hospitals will be eligible for federal reimbursement and Medicare facility payments. So obviously hoping to keep them open as long as possible and kind of replace that vacuum that was created by some of those previous closures. Number two, the bill requires health plans to cover rural emergency hospitals to the same extent that they would cover services at a general hospital. So just looking to kind of close some of those gaps in rural health systems and create more coverage parity there. Representative Schoaf has the House companion, that's House Bill 309, and that one has not yet been heard. So we'll just have to keep an eye on that one. One thing I wanted to mention is a big preemption got walked back in the Senate committee this week. The Senate Commerce and Tourism Committee passed a committee substitute for Senate Bill 1492 by Senator Trumbull, and this bill originally contained a preemption on prevailing wage practices within local procurement procedures. In other words, a county cannot seek to control the potential benefits or wages of their vendors and the employees within the vendors. This language was removed in the committee substitute language. The House version of this bill, House Bill 433 by Representative Esposito, remains in very bad posture. It does still have that prevailing wage preemption, and it also contains an additional preemption on the terms and conditions of employment and labor. Do I have that right, Courtney?
Yes.
All right. So, obviously the Senate version is looking a little prettier these days, but the House version is in rough shape, and we'll be forced to oppose that. I think that just about does us for this week as far as bills. Do we have any housekeeping issues?
We do have a housekeeping issue, Jared.
What would that be, Courtney?
I would like everyone to know that on Thursday, it is Florida State Day at the Capitol.
Oh, who cares about that?
Jared, I am so sorry. Gatorville has not decided to come yet.
Wait, are we going to skip over the fact that we had, our analysts testify against a bill this week?
Yeah, you kind of didn't even broadcast yourself there. We got to see Jared go to the podium for the first time.
All right, don't pull any punches. How did I do?
You did great, Jared.
I think you killed it.
All right, I appreciate you guys.
Check up one for the analyst.
I love my co-host.
What advice can you give us here for when we finally get to debut? Should I practice on the treadmill?
I did practice on the treadmill the night before, just in case I had testified at a 12% incline.
3 miles an hour.
Yeah, you can never be too careful. I was in my gym all by myself in my apartments, and eventually someone walked in. I was like, you gotta be kidding me.
They didn't want to hear your testimony?
Well, if anything, it might have been better practice, having an
Right.
extra set of ears there, a little extra pressure.
You can't account for all the
perform.
externalities, so you just gotta train for whatever.
But yeah, you guys, when the time is right, you'll be great. It's exhilarating up there. I kind of blacked out, if I'm being honest.
We have no clue what he said.
I could have said anything up there for all I know, but
what committee was this in?
This was in House Commerce Committee.
This was on Tuesday, right?
This was on Tuesday, yep.
In the week,
right.
yeah.
So, folks, you can go back and watch that. Watch Jared.
You can, and I got to go back and do some film study. Come back better
watch
than ever
the film.
next time. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, appreciate the love, guys. And with that being said, we will see you guys next week, I think.
I hope. We're all still here.
We're all still standing, fighting the good fight. It's week 4, right? Budget week.
Yeah.
It is budget week, yeah. Well, so
budget.
those could drop on a dime, and we'll have to drop everything, and we'll obviously keep you guys posted and have a report out on that as soon as we possibly can. But with that being said, this is Jared, Courtney, and Amir.
Come on.
Bye, everybody.
Thank
Bye,
you guys
everyone.
for
Enjoy the
listening.
weekend.